Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. You're tuning into our latest instalment of the Share to Buy Expert Sessions. I am Jade from Share to Buy, and I will soon be passing over to the lovely Brogan and Wesley here from Peabody, who will be talking all about shared ownership, help to buy, kind of the things you should be looking out for when you're buying those properties, and there's loads of information coming your way, so make sure you take some notes as we go through. Just before we make a start, I can already see in our chat box to the right hand side that loads of you are asking questions. I can also see some names that I have seen popping up each week who have been tuning in for all of our sessions. So for you guys who have done this before, who have been part of these, you already know the kind of format. But for any newbies we have who are joining us for the first time, just to let you know that we're going to start off with a presentation from the team here at Peabody, doing their bits, talking through the kind of all the information you need to know. And then at the end of that, we're actually going to go to a live Q&A session where we're going to put your questions to Brogan and Wesley. So we've already received loads of questions on social media, and I can see again some coming through on the chat now. If you want to submit any questions, to the right-hand side, press the little chat box, enter those there, and we'll be trying to get through as many as we can at the end of the session. That's pretty much all from me for now. So I will hand over to the guys from Peabody, and I'll see you at the end for the Q&A.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Peabody webinar. This evening, we shall be looking at the differences between shared ownership and help to buy. So we hope this session covers some of the myths around the products and will let you know what to look out for. So over the next hour, it'll be myself, Wesley, and my colleague Brogan, who will be talking through the shared ownership and help to buy products. So who are Peabody? Peabody are a housing provider who have been around for over 150 years, and we operate through London and the South East. As a company, we manage over 66,000 homes and deliver services to 133,000 residents. As a minimum, we look to deliver at least 3,300 homes each year. And last year, we were able to achieve a 90% customer satisfaction survey. Peabody strive to deliver exceptional homes across London, and we make sure the residents are looked after once they make that all-important purchase.
So we're going to start off with the basics. So what is shared ownership? So shared ownership, also commonly known as part buy, part rent, is a government-backed scheme that allows you to purchase a percentage of a property and pay rent on that remaining share. It's a scheme that has now been around for decades. So it's designed to help people with smaller deposits and lower incomes purchase their first home. So initially, you can buy shares from 25 to 75% of the property, and then you'll pay rent on whatever the purchase percentage is that you don't own. So you are able to purchase further shares, which is known as staircasing, to get you to 100%, making you an outright owner. So typically, you will need to put down from a 5% deposit as a minimum. However, this will only be for the share rather than the total value of the property. So who's eligible for shared ownership? So many people are actually able to purchase through the scheme, probably more than you would think. However, you must be 18 or over. Your annual income must be below 90,000 or 80,000 if you're outside of London. You will normally be a first-time buyer or be in the process of selling your home. You must be able to show that you're not in rent or mortgage arrears, and you must be able to demonstrate that you have a good credit history and can afford the costs and regular payments involved in buying a home. So at Peabody, we do have a panel of financial advisors, so they will be able to discuss affordability with you and talk you through kind of what your payments would look like on a month-by-month basis.
And on to Help to Buy. Help to Buy is a government scheme which is aimed to get people onto the property ladder. This is designed for people who don't have huge deposits. Help to Buy look at offering equity loans up to 40% of the property purchase price inside London. However, If you live outside London, this is to be a maximum of 20% of the purchase price. Help to Buy is only available though on new build properties on homes up to the value of 600,000. So these next two slides will be a typical example of a property breakdown on properties based in London and outside of London. So if you were to purchase a property at 400,000 inside London, you'd be expected to have a minimum of a 5% deposit, which works to £20,000. The government will give you a maximum of 40% of the property value at £160,000. And then the remainder, which is 55%, would be made up of the mortgage. Now, if you were to buy a property outside of London, and the property value, for example, was at £200,000, again, you'd be expected to have a 5% deposit, which works at £10,000. You'd then be looking at a government loan of up to 20%, which comes to £40,000. However, this time, you'd need a mortgage for the remaining 75% of the property, which works to £150,000.
So now we'll discuss some of the many advantages of shared ownership and some of the things you should look out for when purchasing via the scheme. So shared ownership makes home ownership available for people with smaller incomes, as it reduces the need to raise a large deposit. You won't need to take out such a large mortgage as if you were buying on the open market. And shared ownership is often seen as better than renting, as the share that you own can go up in value in line with the property market, which means you'll have some equity in your home. This can help you either buy further shares or move to a larger home if that was what you wanted to do. So some of the things to look out for. So of course, property prices can decrease in value, but this is not necessarily a bad thing. If you've been saving to buy further shares, if and when property prices may see a dip, this would be the perfect time to buy, as shares will be cheaper at that point. Just something to remember, as well as your mortgage for the share that you own, you will also need to pay rent on the share that you don't own per month, as well as a service charge for maintaining any communal areas.
So on to the question of shared ownership. So Brogan, can I own 100% of my new shared ownership home?
Yeah, so initially you're able to purchase from a 25 to 75% share, but you can buy further shares, which is called staircasing, to get you up to 100%, therefore making you an outright owner. Just to point out that not all developments start at 25%. Sometimes it's a little bit higher, so make sure that you check with your housing provider.
And can I decorate my shared ownership home?
So yes, you are free to decorate your home, put your own mark on it. However, if you did want to, move a wall, that kind of thing, you would need approval for any kind of structural changes from your housing provider.
And would I be able to have pets in one of your homes?
So if you're purchasing a Peabody-owned development, yes, you are able to have pets in your home. However, be sure to check with your housing provider first, as this is not the case across all developments.
Is it cheaper to rent than purchase through shared ownership?
So this will depend on the location of the property. However, comparisons do show that the monthly costs when purchasing with shared ownership are often equal to or less than privately renting in a comparable property. So in the same area and same size property.
And how much money do I need in savings for purchasing costs?
So on average, on top of your mortgage deposit, you'll need between £3,500 and £5,000. That's for costs such as legal fees, mortgage valuation fees, and the cost of the actual move itself.
Okay. And do you have to live or work in the same borough as the property you want to buy?
So in general, you are able to purchase a home in any, desired location. However, when it comes to allocation, priority will go to those living or working in the same London borough.
Okay. And is it complicated to buy through shared ownership?
So obviously purchasing a property is, very daunting. However, in practical terms, there's no real difference in, purchasing a shared ownership property opposed to buying a home on the open market.
Okay. Now, on to the advantages of buying with Help to Buy. Now, Help to Buy was a product that was aimed to get people onto the property ladder. And with a deposit as low as 5% of the property value, it may allow you to purchase a home sooner than you think. The government will give you a loan, which over the first 5 years is interest-free, and there's nothing paid back until the end of the 5th year. After the first 5 years, the payment loan terms are very competitive compared to the open market. After 6 years, the interest on the loan will increase by 1% plus the retail price index. If the RPI does fall, your charges will still increase by 1%. As inflation rises, so will the rate of the interest. Your equity loan will rise and fall with the market. Therefore, if your house increases in value, so will the amount you owe. Help to Buy is only available on new build properties with certain developers, so you may be limited by choice in your preferred area. Also, not all lenders offer Help to Buy mortgages, so please speak with a qualified financial advisor who will be able to advise you best.
So we'll now go through some of the common misconceptions of Help to Buy. So is Help to Buy just for first-time buyers?
So at present, Help to Buy is available to those that already own a home or in the process of selling. However, from 2021, when the Help to Buy equity loan scheme is being extended, it will restrict eligibility to first-time buyers purchasing newly built homes only.
So who can't apply for the scheme?
So you won't be able to apply for the scheme if you are buying it as a second home for investment purposes or intending to purchase through anything other than a repayment mortgage.
And if I buy through Help to Buy, will this mean I own my home?
Yes, it will. So a Help to Buy mortgage guarantee is essentially the same as a traditional 95% repayment mortgage, so you will be the owner completely outright.
So how do I pay back the loan after 5 years?
So the Help to Buy equity loan is interest-free for the first 5 years, after which you'll be required to pay back the interest of 1.75% of the amount of the Help to Buy shared equity loan. The loan itself is repayable after 25 years or on the sale of the property if earlier.
Am I able to use shared ownership and Help to Buy equity loan on the same home?
Sadly not. These are two separate products and cannot be used on the same purchase. So you will need to speak with the developer at the time to know specifically which properties have been allocated for shared ownership or for Help to Buy.
So as you know, we have been in lockdown for some time now, so we've had to adapt the way in which we conduct home viewings. So Peabody currently has over 700 homes available across 28 developments, and we've completed over 700 online viewings via Zoom since the beginning of lockdown. This has resulted in over 80 reservations for our new built homes. So you are able to reserve any Peabody home at the moment for £99, and this fee is fully refundable up until a physical viewing. So if anyone out there has reserved during this period, we will be in touch shortly to discuss when those physical viewings will take place.
So during these uncertain times, we are running new incentives whereby you can enjoy £500 towards a new home office. These offers will be available if you reserve before the 12th of June at the following developments: Bridge East in Newham, Colindale Gardens in Barnet, the Gallery in Southwark, and Patchworks in Islington. Now, there should be a link available on your screen which you could click through if you wish to receive further details. And thank you for listening to us today. If you do want more information, please head over to the Peabody Sales website or follow the social media links below. We'll now play a short video to showcase some of the Peabody developments across London.
Hi everyone. Just while we get Wesley, there we are, and Brogan's going to be coming back any second. Thank you so much. First of all, that was really good. And actually, I was keeping an eye on the kind of chat section as we were going, and you've answered a load of the questions, especially that kind of, you know, can you use shared ownership and help to buy on the same property, and loads of stuff about eligibility as well. So I know that you've already plowed through loads of these questions actually unknowingly. But we'll jump straight into it because we've had loads of questions and really good questions to put forward to you both. So we'll start with Brogan, as this one is shared ownership. Saeed has asked, are you able to partner up with a friend to buy a shared ownership property?
So yes, of course. So you are able to partner with, you know, friend, sibling, partner. That's absolutely fine. Just to remember that your combined income must still be below that £90,000 in London threshold and £80,000 outside of London.
That's really good to know, actually, because I think a lot of people will feel like, you know, I'm not with a partner and necessarily in the area I want to buy, I can't buy as a solo buyer. So actually,
yeah,
no, it doesn't have to be with family. It doesn't have to be with a partner. You could buy with your best friend, or if I think we've seen a lot over the years, like people moving out of university, that kind of area of life.
Yeah, definitely.
As an investment, with the idea of then potentially staircasing, buying each other out, or going on and selling their property. So it's really good to know that that option's there for people. So one for Wesley on Help to Buy. Colette has asked, can you give a greater deposit for Help to Buy homes than the required minimum?
Yes, you can. There's a few ways this would work. Now, if you opt to, say, put down a 10% deposit rather than the 5% deposit, then you can either look at putting that towards your mortgage. So it reduces the amount that you take out from the lender, which would then theoretically mean that you're probably going to get a better interest rate and lower down the mortgage repayment cost monthly. Or alternatively, you can carry on taking out the 55% mortgage amount of the property purchase price, and then you can use that extra deposit to put towards the property, and that then will entail mean taking out less of the equity amount from Help to Buy.
Okay, that's really good to know. That's fab. We'll jump into another shared ownership question, which we actually get quite a lot of. So this is from Michelle, who has asked, what if you buy a shared ownership property, but your circumstances change a few years down the line? So say you have a family, you need a bigger property. And she's also basically asking, you know, what's the likelihood of you making a profit on selling your home at that stage?
So when purchasing with shared ownership, you know, if you're starting with a, you know, smaller share, depending on, you know, the location that you're buying in, it is, you know, very common that you will make a profit on your share. That would lead you to, you know, either buy further shares in that property, so you're 100% owner, or if, you know, as you said, you were starting a family, your circumstances has changed, then you would start the resales process. So at Peabody, we have a process in which we would market that property for you in order to try and find a, you know, another shared owner for that property. If we were unable to do that, then you would be able to go onto the open market and either find someone to purchase the share that you own or 100% of the property.
Yeah, that's a great point as well, because actually we touched on the kind of new build resale thing last week as well during that webinar. But I think a lot of people do think that shared ownership is just new build, and actually new build isn't for everyone. Not everyone wants that. They want the kind of character of an older property. So actually, yeah, it's a good split. You can choose where you go. So it's good to know that, you know, if you're selling on your home, you're actually helping potentially another first-time buyer, that kind of thing. So
yeah, definitely,
kind of within the shared ownership tenure as well. So that's great. One for both of you, and again, we get this quite a lot of Shared to Buy. So Mariana and a few others have actually asked basically about whether Help to Buy or shared ownership is better for them. So Mariana in particular is saying that they're a young professional couple who are on a modest income. But what's kind of your advice for people that are having to choose between the two schemes at the moment?
To be honest, this is very individual and based on your current circumstances. So for some people, if you know you've got the normal average salary of say 30 to maybe 50,000 per annum, but you've got the smaller deposit, then that's where the option for shared ownership works perfectly, where you can then buy a smaller share and get yourself onto the ladder. However, if you are in a more fortunate situation where you have a larger deposit, then naturally the option is to then look at the Help to Buy option, where then, you know, you being the full owner, and then obviously you just start repaying the amount that you borrowed back after the 5th year. So both schemes are brilliant. It just depends on your individual circumstance.
Yeah, definitely. I think myself, I would say that I'm on a modest salary, and I am saving up for a shared ownership property at the moment. I just think it's a great scheme, you know, to enable you to get onto the property ladder initially if you don't have, you know, a high deposit, and then you can look at, you know, buying further shares. But that's absolutely up to you. So there's no time limit on that. You can take it at your pace. So yeah, it's very flexible.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone, isn't it? So for some people, it's very varied. Some people will buy a shared ownership property with the aim off the bat of going, I want to own 100%. I'm going to staircase time. I've done my research. I'm going to save. Other people want to build equity in their share and then go on to sell. We've had loads of people that we've spoken to who have bought shared ownership, sold it for a profit, have saved in that time and gone on to buy Help to Buy.
Yeah.
So you can jump between schemes as well. This is the good thing about the eligibility of both, is that you don't have to be a first-time buyer. I know obviously Help to Buy could potentially change or will be changing come next year, but at the moment, utilize that, look into the different schemes that are available to you, because there's so many out there, and it's just these are the two core that get a lot of people onto the property ladder. So it's really good to kind of know where you're at with those. Another question, so again, we can discuss this for both shared ownership and Help to Buy, and I think it's off the back of the Peabody incentive for the £500 home office, is furniture included in these homes?
Again, this it's a scheme specific. Now, a lot of the times the properties will come unfurnished, but you will have your standard finishes, i.e. all your kitchens installed, your bathrooms all finished, so they're ready to move into. But otherwise, there will be a blank canvas for you to be able to put your stamp onto the property. However, when we've got show homes, for example, which are then dressed, ready to be able to give you an example of how you could dress your home, or just to give you some inspiration on the property, those ones there would be an additional cost for the furniture in the property. So those ones will then come ready for you to move into straight away, but otherwise they will be an empty unit for you.
Okay, that's great. So we know that there's the kind of the potential incentives and stuff there. Sorry, Brogan, did you have something to add to that?
Well, it's very much the same, you know, with shared ownership. If we do have a show home available, then we will sell the furniture with that at a discounted price. However, we do like to, you know, let people put their own mark on their homes, because for a lot of people moving from like rented accommodation, they've never been able to do that before. So it's just nice for, you know, someone to come in and be able to put their own stamp on the property.
And it's good for renters as well, because actually over time, I mean, I'm a renter currently, and I have loads of bits and pieces of my own furniture, and I wouldn't necessarily want to lose all that. So you can bring the bits with you. And exactly that, you can then start investing in like those kind of key pieces that you've been waiting for, because you're renting, you know, you're gonna have to move it, and now you own, and you can actually, like you said, really put your stamp on the property.
Yeah,
that's great. Another shared ownership question, Brogan. So, is shared ownership a good option, considering you'll be paying both rent and a service charge, or would it be better to put that amount aside and basically save so you can buy a property outright?
Well, I think we touched on this before. In a lot of cases, it's actually cheaper, you know, for the combined mortgage, rent and service charge costs than renting privately. So if, you know, you can, you do have, you know, some form of deposit and you are able to purchase via shared ownership, I would always, you know, suggest doing so, because then you're building, you know, equity in that share opposed to paying someone else's mortgage.
Yeah, and again, it's so personal. It's such an individual thing. So it was Olive that asked this, but Olive, I guess, is just kind of taking a step back and seeing how quickly you want to get on the property ladder, because actually it could take you X amount of years to save the deposit to buy outright. And again, like we said, you could buy shared ownership now, get 25%, potentially buy more, or build your equity, sell at a profit, then put that towards your next home. So it's all very personal, all of these kind of things. We then had a help to buy question from Leanne. So she has asked, can you sell or rent out your help to buy property in the future if your circumstances change?
Right, so with help to buy, when you sign up to the product, you're not in a position to rent out the property. So you sign up to be the actual current occupant of that property. The only time that you can actually rent out the property is if, for instance, you are part of the armed forces and then you're going away for service. So if your circumstances do change, it will be a case of that you will be looking to sell the property.
Okay, is that the same for shared ownership, Brogan?
Yeah, so that's very much the same. So you should be, you know, purchasing a shared ownership home with the view for that, you know, to be your main and only home. So yeah, you're unable to rent out the property until you become, you know, 100% owner. But you can, of course, have a lodger if you've got a second bedroom and they, you know, wanted to stay in that room.
That was actually going to be my next question, because we get so many queries about lodgers and whether you can take them. So I guess the general rule of thumb is that yes, you can have a lodger, but their kind of financial input at the stage of you buying your property won't be taken into consideration. You need to be able to afford that property on your own. And then it's just being that owner occupier. You can't move out, sublet, that kind of thing without potential like short term, like you said, ways of like military having to move or temporarily, stuff like that. But then you just speak to your housing provider. So in this situation, they just speak to you guys at Peabody and discuss your options there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Someone has asked, oh, sorry, I've lost your name in the process of this, so apologies for whoever asked this question. But can I buy shared ownership or help to buy if I own a property abroad, so not in Britain?
No, you can't. It is a case that if you are going to be using either the shared ownership product or the help to buy product, you can't have another property, regardless if it's outside of the UK, in your name. So you have to be completely off the deeds of every property to be able to use these schemes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm just having a look at seeing what some of our most frequently asked are. One we have actually had quite a few times throughout the webinars is basically, is the price negotiable on help to buy and shared ownership homes? Can you go in with an offer like you sometimes do on the open market?
Yeah, I mean, with help to buy, I always say if you don't ask, you don't get. But yeah, with help to buy, it is typically an open market sale, so you can come in and put offers forward. So that is something that we have generally across the board for our open market sales. With shared ownership, there is no negotiation on the price. We have the valuations done. They all come in at in a sense, the full market value, but we don't add in any additional contingencies onto that. So whatever the valuations come in at, that is what we sell the properties at. So there's no negotiations on those prices.
Yeah, fantastic. So We've got time probably for a couple more questions, so I'll try and shoot over again the same ones that we're getting quite a lot of. But for anyone that's tuning in, I can see hundreds of questions coming in, so I'm really sorry that we're not going to get to answer them all. And just a couple of things, this session's being recorded, so if you've missed anything, this will be going live on our site from this afternoon, potentially tomorrow morning at the very latest, so you can kind of go back on that. We're also working on a huge kind of FAQ section on our website on Shared to Buy, which is already up and running. We're updating it after each and every webinar, so anything we don't get a chance to answer, we'll send you a link to that in the next day. And as soon as you are ready, you can go on there and basically find the answers to the questions you're asking if we don't manage to get to it. So another one for both of you. B has asked, how do I work out how much I need for each scheme? What sort of extensive credit checks would you do?
So with this, in terms of your monthly costs, it's always best, first of all, to speak with financial advisors, because one, you would have, first of all, the market of the the property value will be different to different schemes. The service charges will also be different to different schemes. The ground rents will be different. If you're looking at shared ownership, then you've also got the rent that's then charged on the unsold equity will also be different. So best to speak with financial advisors, let them go through all the monthly costs with you. You also need to take into consideration the mortgage and the interest rates, and obviously how old you are and how long the term is going to be. So it's very difficult for us to say these are the exact amounts. We can provide small estimates, but to get exact figures, you will need to speak with financial advisors. In terms of credit checks, that's also done with the financial advisors, where then you'll be expected to provide a credit file either from somewhere like Equifax or Experian if you are actually looking to proceed going forward to obtain the mortgage.
That's fantastic. That's loads of good information, and I think that's the best possible thing. Finances it's a tricky situation. Financial advisor is always a really good way to go on that front. And another one we've had quite a few times is basically, how long is the sales process? I mean, what's your experience with that at Peabody?
So typically, I would say the shared ownership sales process, takes about 6 to kind of 8 to 10 weeks. Given the current situation with COVID-19, obviously we understand that may take a little bit longer. But that's kind of the current, the timeframes that we were working towards before. That can change. Sometimes you will be purchasing a property off plan, so we'll get all the kind of legal documents, done, and you'll go out and get a mortgage. However, after exchange of contracts, you won't be able to complete until that property is ready. So you'll do what's called completion on notice. So that might take a little bit longer. But yeah, typically I would say probably around 2 months.
Fab, that's really good. And so quick, like, given that it's such a big thing, isn't it? You can actually get going really quickly, current circumstances aside, and the kind of intricacies of buying off plan and the kind of like slightly longer period that might take. It's really good to know you can turn it around that quickly. And back to you, Wesley. So this is our last question for Help to Buy. Do you start repaying the loan straight away, or is it after that initial 5 years?
No, so it is interest-free for the first 5 years. So for that first 5 years, all you need to worry about is just your mortgage costs. So once you go into the 5th year, that's when you would then start to repay back the equity loan that you've then borrowed.
Ah, that's really good. And we'll end on this. So pretty much, we've had a few people asking about specific developments that you mentioned earlier during the incentive. But where can people find out about Peabody, your developments, and kind of what areas do you have homes in? I know you mentioned London and the Southeast earlier.
Yeah, so all you need to do is, if you are interested and would like to find out more, is head over to our Peabody sales website, where we've got all of the current developments that are selling. So we've got all new build, we've got second-hand properties also live on there. So we cover all of London. At the moment, we've got properties in South London, down at New Cross at the Pomeroy. We've got properties in Northwest London, heading over towards Wembley, and we've got properties also in East London as well. We've also now got the new social media, which is up and running, so you can also get us on Facebook, Twitter, and also on Instagram. So please feel free to head over to the website, register your interest, and hopefully we can find you a new home.
That's fantastic. So I think we're going to call it call it a day very shortly, because we've had you guys talking for so long, and thank you so much. Yeah, basically, that was amazing, and I think it's a lot of the questions we get a lot, and actually I can see the chat box is still so full. But again, thank you for your presentation, for spending your time answering all our questions. Thank you to everyone that did ask a question. Just to reiterate, we're not going to be able to cover them all during these webinars. They're less than an hour, but we are working on a huge FAQ section of the sharedby.com website. So we will be sending you out a link, and you'll have access to, we've seen loads of questions about mortgages, eligibility, the process, the finances, citizenship. We cover everything. So have a little look at that when it comes through to you, and hopefully we'll have answered your question. If not, if you still can't find it, drop us a message on social media. We're across the board, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And we'll try our best to help you in whatever kind of situation you're in. In the meantime, we'll be back next Tuesday, so the 2nd of June, with Southern Home Ownership, who will be starting their webinar at 5 p.m, so a little bit earlier than today. And keep an eye on sharedby.com and our social media channels for the registration links going live. But again, guys, thank you so much. This has been really informational, really good. I'm sure we've helped tons of people today. And with that, we'll call it a day.
Thank you for having us.
Much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hope you all enjoyed.